welcome everyone to this month's Members Monthly Meeting. There's a lot of M's in that phrase. It's very well attended today. I'm really excited about our agenda today, which is a little different from our normal approach. I'm your host. My name is Dwight Maholitz. I'm the immediate past chair of the CMC-Global Institute, and one of my duties has been to facilitate these monthly meetings. We do have a new chair of our membership committee who I'm discussing with now in terms about a handover, because this will become a function of our membership committee once it's up and running. Our agenda today is an exciting one. Tamara, who is our chair, typically will give us greetings and an overview of what's been happening in the last month. She's not on the line right now, but we have a very informal agenda today. So when she does join us, we will ask her to give us. Oh, that reminds me, one of the things I would ask is that each of us do mute our microphones, please, because unexpected things happen in the background. So unless speaking, let's keep our microphones on mute. So again, as I was saying, we have a very exciting agenda today, because what we want to do is talk about business problems. What are some of the challenges that we face as management consultants? I'll be introducing that in a minute. Then after we've had that discussion, we'll leave ourselves about 20 minutes at the end after our discussion to hear from Otto, who will introduce himself and his firm. And I'm really looking forward to hearing that. So looking forward to Otto. So, as I said, I will come back to Tamara when we come there. So what we're going to talk about then is, I don't have any prepared slides for this. It is about consulting business problems and challenges. So we'll just leave this slide on. And what I'd like to do is ask each of you to think about what are some of the challenges that we face in our own firm. And what we'll do is share some of those. It doesn't have to be an odyssey. It can be an overview in terms of what some of the key issues are that we face. And then let's share experiences, whether all of us share those, whether there are other ideas in terms of how people might have solved those issues, and learn from each other. So as I said, it's very formal. We have about 30 minutes for this kind of a discussion, and I'm just really looking forward to it. So I'm going to open it up. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is stop my screen share, and then that way what we're going to be able to do is see each other better as we're talking with each other, because this is more of a networking thing. And then the person that's speaking will have a larger screen. Yes, this is going to be a much better way of doing it. So, would anyone like to share their experience? What's the challenge that you face in your company that if you could make that go away, you'd be much more effective?
Dwight, if you want, I can start up. Well, our model is we several years ago develop our own people. So instead of going to the market and trying to get an experienced consultant, we went the hard and the slow way, because we wanted a lot of stability with the engagements and the let's say the employment status of the people. So for us, the main challenge is the learning of the consultants. We, in our market, basically, the type of consulting that we do, only the Big Four does it, the local offices of the Big Four, but radicated or located within this region, basically, what we do is usually asked of them or to us. And with that regard, what we challenge every day, or what we struggle with every day, is the building of independence and capacity to the growing consultants. I would say that's the main struggle, and everything else is a consequence or a function of that. Because if they cannot execute in some specific part, then I have to go in. as the senior person in our firm. And of course, there's so much that you can do in one day. So at the end, my main goal is that I am no longer indispensable in as much as I can.
Yeah. Excellent. What I'd like to do is go around and get some. I'm going to keep some notes of this as we're going around, so that we can close the circle and get input from others. But let's hear about the experiences first and get those on the table, and then we can come back to have observations or advice or sharing solutions. Valerio, have you any thoughts for us? He may have stepped away for a minute. Nadal, are you there?
Yes, Dwight, I'm here.
Okay, great. Have you any thoughts for us in terms of challenges that you face in your firm?
I think it's a very wide question. And, as you know, management consulting was created to address problems and concerns. But I would say the main challenge here is the ability to deliver integrated services between management, financial, and IT consulting. Assignments are becoming bigger in Middle East. And the small assignments where we are only focusing on strategic planning or mainly evaluation are disappearing, basically, in favor of larger restructuring opportunities, whether in the public sector or even in the private sector. So this puts a pressure on staffing and finding the right level of expertise. This is why this is a major concern now, since the assignments are becoming more and more larger.
What's happening with the smaller projects? Are organizations starting to do more of that themselves, or are there just more management consultants providing those services?
Individual management consultants normally address these things. Now, in a context of restructuring and reform, those assignments are becoming more and more in the scene, and you probably that is witnessed everywhere in the third world countries.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Two excellent things to think about. Valerio, I see that you're signed on again. Have you any thoughts for us? No, I think you're still on mute.
Thank you Now it's okay, right?
Yeah, now it's good.
Well, before our meeting, I was thinking about challenges. So, the first one I've got for myself, it was like Otto, but to everybody, we are a company which is providing IT consulting services. IT consulting, information security is kind of niche segment. And we cannot go on the market to look for experts, because there are none in Moldova. There are few. So we didn't have even to analyze this option, and we started to go into universities, having weekly meetings or monthly meetings, trying to identify the best students and to hire them, or to give them the opportunity for an internship here with us, and then to decide whether they can stay or not. So at this point, we don't look for expertise, we look for capabilities and for willingness to learn. The second point, I got here is the client's maturity. At least in Moldova, we have few, let's say few, kind of 50 companies which may order our services because, well, they are pretty dependent on information technologies, but they are not at that level to say, okay, we have everything in place and now we are going to think about optimizing our information technologies. So we have to do a lot of work and convince them that they need this now or later on, and they will get a lot of benefits from this. Another point which was mentioned by Nidal, I suppose, it is the structure of the assignments. Indeed, the assignments are bigger now, and all the times we have to look around to find friends who are able to support us in delivering big assignments. And more than this is a kind of issue or a challenge to prepare for bidding, especially for big public assignments. We have a lot of EU funds here in Moldova, and to apply for them, you have to prove your expertise and your experience. Mm-hmm. This would be 3 big points, which and of course the fee structure. Clients always want to pay less. Mm-hmm. At the same time, when we go on that way that we build our competencies in-house, I have to invest a lot in trainings, in case studies and things like this. Accordingly, my fees are, let's say, higher than my competitors. And of course, the quality level is higher, but my clients don't all the times understand that these are different categories, let's say.
Yeah. They don't always appreciate the value proposition. Yeah, very good. Excellent. We've got 6 that I've been keeping notes here. 6 very interesting challenges. Anyone else? Just looking at our
Right. Can I come with a thought? I don't know, because we are here a group of consultants on different areas. Yes, being experts on different areas, and related to those big assignments, we can at least try to think together on how to bring us at the same table and try to win more business for ourselves. A point which I'm thinking of.
I agree completely. I think one of the strongest advantage of an organization like a management consulting institute such as us is to build this relationships amongst ourselves. So this is the table we should first come to. We're looking for resources. So thank you. Let's keep that in the back of all of our minds as we talk about these things. Very, very good. Yes. Any others? I'm just trying to look down the list here to see who else is on the list. Elena.
Something that I forgot to say, and what Valerie remind me, is that when you're in a big firm, you have a feed of new stuff. You have a feed where you learn from that feed, because basically you have global groups that do all the research, and they provide you with the latest stuff so that you can execute providing it to the clients. With small firms, like I guess many of us, we have to provide for that feed ourselves. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, if the university already has it, or if there is a book already on that, it's probably too old.
Yeah.
So in our case, one thing that is very important to us is to try to identify resources for learning, for training our people in beyond what the market is able to acquire locally. So that's something very important. Yeah. And with that regard, I would remind everyone that next week we will have the first BPP, the first best practices and projects group, and whoever has not signed up for that and wants to know what it is or whatever, just drop me a line and I'll put you up to date.
Thank you. That's a great opportunity for the for promotion for that program. That's an amazing way for those of us to share experiences in terms of real client work and what we've done and how we can help clients. The other thing I want to say on that before we move on to the next speaker is our chair of our professional development committee, John, I see is on the line, and I know he's madly making a note now because one of his mandates is how to identify those sources of expertise amongst ourselves. And I know he's working on a series of webinars where he can rely on those of us that are affiliated with GI to share that kind of leading edge experience that hasn't made it to university classes or textbooks yet. So very, very good point, Otto. Thank you. Elena, have you any comments for us, or would you like to add anything to the discussion before we go and open it up for feedback? Okay, so let's open it up to general discussion. I'd really like. I've got eight areas here for discussion. One was raised twice actually, so this may be a double. Is the development of our own people. The other one was in terms of collaboration and larger, as small mid-sized to be able to the need for collaboration amongst other firms to be able to meet those projects. We talked about client maturity and the ability of the client to recognize their need for some of the services. The larger assignments, that's the one that's doubled. The fee structure and the fact that to provide value, our cost structure and fee structure may be higher than our competitors. Collaboration again, and then big firms. How can we compete with large firms in terms of having our own research base and leading edge knowledge? So anyway, I would like to have some general thoughts now. This is very open, and I'd like anybody's thoughts about how do we as a group tackle these? What are some of the things that we can do to help each other in terms of being as effective as we can? And I see there are some board members on, so any board members that might want to jump in on this too, please do. John, I see you just turned on your video camera, so please go ahead.
Sure. Good morning. If I could just add, for those of us who are kind of in the senior phase of our careers, marketing professional services. In other words, from my experience and perhaps from others, only a very few businesses can effortlessly market to clients and almost are in a passive mode in terms of, I think we all experience at some stage of the game, can't possibly keep up with the workload. At another stage of the game, particularly for those of us who are not in information technology, in my own circumstances, and strategy and project management, human resources, and so on. Many former colleagues have retired and moved on, are not doing the kind of work they used to. Very difficult to reach out to those that don't have a connection with. And particularly having done a lot of work in the public sector, not-for-profit sector, quite the struggle to be able to get out there and actually demonstrate a kind of a market presence.
Okay, so really profile in the marketplace.
Yes, and the ability to leverage the CMC designation, the various institutes of CMCs and networking and so forth, with the assumption that as goes the truism about the hidden job market being probably 80 or 90% of all of the employment that's out there. Probably it's closer to about 99% consulting assignments that they just simply aren't advertised.
Mm-hmm. Valerio, that links directly to your program in terms of value and the price structure. Do you find the CMC designation is something that can help differentiate you in the market? I think Valerio is maybe having trouble with linkages because he's, I don't know, well, I'll watch for his feed to go live again and then we'll come back to him on that. Tuya, I see that you've just joined us from Mongolia. Welcome, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you, Toya. Sorry.
Thank you. Good, no, not at all. Have you any thoughts for us in terms of challenges that your firm faces in terms of, you know, what gets in the way of being as successful as we can?
Yeah, here with the Mongolian Institute, we now concerned quite significantly how important to identify at what stage of development the clients are. Based on that what approach we use for consulting intervention, and when we engaged in the project. So because from our experiences, the problem sometimes what type of approach or methodology we use for clients where they are, which it linked to their, you know, the management style or culture or skill shortage, those factors, or company ambition and capability of strategic approach, and etc. And we are trying here to have a even task force where we can come up with the good, even better diagnostic tools we normally use, kind of properly identifying that what's the best approach to work with the management or make their projects more successful in a way, or implementation take real place. So because I joined you guys later, I don't know how.
No, that's a very good addition. Thank you, and it's elaborated on a point that Valerio raised as well in terms of the maturity of the marketplace. So thank you for that. I see it. I have a hand up here, Harold. You've been waiting patiently. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to add a couple of other questions, given that this is kind of an international forum, as to whether anyone has ever tried entering a new geography, a new market, so kind of market entry strategy in a new country, and what they found worked and what doesn't work. And then the other reverse question is, have you ever partnered with a firm from another country, and how did you go about finding those firms and developing those relationships? Maybe just a little bit of context around those two questions very quickly. We're actually looking at Nigeria, and the main reason for looking at Nigeria is my son is going to be there for another 4 years volunteering at a hospital in Nigeria. Probably wouldn't have been our first choice, but because of that, we're looking at that as an option, and we're currently looking at how best to develop potentially a partner relationship with a local consulting firm, but also thinking that we need to go to market ourselves rather than relying on that partner, and how best to make the necessary client connections. So those are kind of two questions I thought I'd throw into the pot, given our international flavor.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Harold. I've added those to the list I'm keeping manually here as well. So this is the open discussion part. Any suggestions for Harold and/or any of the other topics that we've had here? To me, this is a fascinating discussion. I'd like to continue that.
May I join?
Yes, please, Nadal. Go ahead.
I like the point raised by John on the CMC. Is it helping us to differentiate ourselves in as management consultants? And I wish to say, do we need an honest answer or a diplomatic answer?
We need honesty today.
Okay, then definitely we have three major competitors as management consultants, as CMCs. One is PMP, Project Management Professional, definitely helps you to differentiate you better. Second, RBA, which business analyst, certified business analyst, is the second certificate that really comes as second. Third, probably any certification in evaluation or strategic planning. And fourth comes CMC, and sometimes I have to explain myself a lot what CMC is and what kind of exam did I went to, and what kind of validation of experience did it help. Hopefully that in the things I'm reading from the email, whether through certifying companies or certifying of individuals, we raise the bar a bit, which gives more value to the designation of CMC. I have to say also it comes fifth. ISO designation is definitely a fourth major competitor. Then in the fifth place comes CMC. Regarding Harold's question, yeah.
Just on the third one you mentioned, what was about strategic planning, but I didn't quite get it.
Yeah, any master in strategic planning or developmental studies would definitely rank number third to differentiate yourself as a management consultant. I wish to be number one. This is something we need to collectively address in a very proactive way in 2018 at least. Now, regarding Harold's point, entering a market in Africa or MENA region, because I've tried that 3 times, can be challenging, and sometimes you might be better off not entering the market there as a foreigner. We have right now, I have around 3 to 4 partnerships with a Canadian international company, with a German international company, or a UK-based international company. My company is registered in 3 countries. So what I would advise is to carefully assess the local partner in terms of their credibility, past experiences, level of partnerships. It usually makes a difference if that local partner has partnered with a World Bank or in EU or a national bank or a public body. Please study the CV of that local partner meticulously, carefully, because what's on paper looks very nice. In reality, it doesn't look very nice.
Thank you. Very good advice. Valerio, do you have any follow-up for us on this?
Well, I like the last words about partnering.
Thank you.
Indeed, I suppose Nidal wanted to say about CBAP, business analyst certifications.
Oh yes, okay, very good. I wanted to ask you, Valerio, you had mentioned the value and pricing in the market. Does this, in this same discussion, does the CMC designation provide value to you in terms of that differentiation and helping to support their cost structure?
Right. Once again, honestly or diplomatic?
Yes. No, honestly, because this is what we want to learn, how we can all help each other to do better. Well,
is not well known, the CMC designation here, Moldova, and at least to me, I have other certificates which they are, let's say, tailored on IT, information security, IT audit, and things like this. So that's why those are, let's say, first in the list, and then I can mention that I am CMC as well. So
yes.
I suppose. Sorry for. I suppose that usually local bodies, let's say local institutes, or they are able to promote this. In our case, we are less visible on the market, and we still are trying to set up an institute here in Chisinau.
Yes, I know.
But unfortunately, something went wrong there, and I don't know what's the status. But yes, it's not the first one, and here the case is that is not so known.
Mm-hmm. So thank you. That's very good information, and I know the global strategy from CMC-Global is one of the pillars is on increasing awareness of the CMC brand. One step in that, just to give you a heads up, is because Nadal mentioned the ISO standard, and there's a new standard, ISO 2700, which are guidelines for management consulting, and anyone who has a CMC, that competency framework, it matches what's required by the ISO 2700. So we are now looking at how we can do an initiative to for any of us that are CMCs to add to our business card, to add to our website that we perform these services according to the guidelines, ISO 2700. So those kinds of things can become news-making events that we can promote, and also to increase the perceived validity and importance of the CMC brand. So more will be coming on that. That's a project in process right now. So that's something you can watch for. Any other comments? We have about 5 minutes before we're going to hand it over to Otto for his introduction.
Dwight, I would like to say I've tried a couple of times to go to another country and start selling, and I've done both ways. The Lone Ranger type of stuff, where you leverage on your contacts in some other country and agenda of visits, and then everyone does the courtesy of receiving you, and you provide and show what you do, and whatever. In my experience, even with several visits, my experience was that you do not do not cease to be seen as a Lone Ranger or as a temporary visitor in that country, and because you are not located physically in that sector or in that location, then you are not there when the opportunities arise. So what we found, at least, is that you need to be, let's say, waiting in the market, and of course you have to do the visits and you have to do the branding and everything. But unless it's very hard. It's very hard for someone who does not know you to take his chances or her chances with you if you're not located in the country. Regarding the partnerships, we have also done some work on that regard, and we have had two things. Two different situations. A bit on the line that Nigel showed. We have had some partnerships, for example, in Panama, and the thing was, the partner was okay, but we ended up understanding that he did not have the same type of clients that buy us. So in our case, because we were management consulting, who buys from us? The president of the company, CFO, the general manager, the CEO. That's the type of people who buys from us. Our partner had contacts and did sell services to middle management. So he didn't have actually any access to the type of decision makers that we need. So we got to understand that if we partner with someone, we need to talk to the people who talk to the same people that buy from us. In our case and in our market, that would be executive recruiters, you know, the recruiters that are the top that recruit the CEOs and the presidents and alike. Or, for example, it could be tax and legal lawyers or tax and legal firms that do access that level. That's the point where we are, because, for example, IT firms or other type of services firm, HR firms, sometimes go to a lower level, at least in our market. And also, we had the opportunity to partner with the Costa Rican export promotion agency, and basically they didn't know how to sell professional services, so they couldn't help us get to the decision makers. But we are using them to sort of endorse us to try to go to the market and find a feasible partner. So we are using their connections, and because they are on the market in all these countries, we're using them to locate a suitable partner.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that. I'd like to take just a minute or two to wrap up, but does anyone else have any closing comments or thoughts for us before we do that? And then we're going to move on to Otto and his introduction of the firm. But any other closing thoughts or words of inspiration from anyone before we move on? This has been exceptionally good. The information is very, very good, because in terms of thinking about the way forward and how the Institute can add the most value to all of the members, this is to me very insightful. So we have to do, certainly, in terms of the visibility of the CMC brand, but also, to me, the common thread here is that the kinds of issues that we're facing in terms of developing our own people, collaborating for larger projects, reacting to and understanding the maturity of the market, partnerships across different geographies. These are all things where as colleagues, we can support each other. So we need to continue working with events such as this one, and think of other ways. I know it's difficult. We're in almost every continent here just on this call. So how can we build those linkages in a way that makes sense for all of us that are CMCs? And we are now 48 members strong. So in terms of GI, but when you add in the mix of other CMCs and other institutes, we're 6,000 strong. So there's a lot of strength there. There are 2 initiatives that are coming from CMC-Global this year that you'll be hearing about this fiscal year. So early in the next calendar year, one is a CMC registry where CMCs from around the world can come together in forums like this one, and the other one is the CMC firm, which is a new service where CMCs in one firm can actually register their firm, and we can get firm-to-firm connections in the same way we have now consultant-to-consultant connections. So lots of exciting things happening, and this was really, really good. So we're going to now move on to you, Otto. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to your introduction. We have 10 to 15 minutes, if you're able to accommodate us on that, because we do have to end on the hour. Would you like me to put the slides up for you, or would you prefer to share the screen from your side, Otto?
No, you can move them.
Okay.
I think it would be easier.
Okay, let me just share screen going here.
Okay.
And we go. So over to you,
Okay.
Otto.
Thank you. Well, basically, I'm going to go, because we have 15 minutes, I'm going to go fairly quick. If anyone, I know this is being recorded, so if anyone wants some details on that later on, or a copy of the presentation, I have no problem with sending it to you. Just out of our previous conversation, I think one of the main things we need to do all to network is to map what we do. And based on that, understand what other resources in other parts of the countries, in other parts of the world, we can access for different types of things. Okay, next. Okay, okay, next. Basically, we are a local firm. Let me just get this out of the way. Okay, we are a local firm. We were created in 2002, and in the last 10 years, we have been doing management consulting, and what we call managed services. We're specialized in strategy, processes and operations, and some analytics, especially in the non-manufacturing type of companies. So our clients are usually the back offices areas of any company, service non-manufacturing type of industry, such as logistics, financial services, etc. And over the years, beyond management consulting, we have developed some services that we call last mile services, where sometimes our local market has problems implementing some of the recommendations. So we develop these managed services in order for them to get traction. Next. We're a relatively small team. I'm the senior person in my company, and we have a mix of different professionals, mostly in administration, and recently in engineering at the level of trainees who are currently studying and will develop with us. Some in line with what Valerio stated. We like to develop our own people, and because of that, we have been going to mid-schooling type of people that we develop. So, for example, Amy, Alejandro, Aldo, and Josephine have over 6-7 years with us and have developed into consultants along with us. Okay, next. This is the type of clients that we have. Over 10 years, we have had around 110 projects and services provided to all those companies. As I said, with a heavy emphasis on banking and financial services, some industrial, usually on the back office part, either finance or supply chain and purchasing. And of course, service-related industries as shared services centers, where we have a lot of competencies regarding that. Next, please. Our approach has been to try to be very practical, focus on the client, and we are very keen to have a logical approach that the client can follow. We do not like recommendations based in our, let's say, only in our experience, but that the client needs to be able to follow the logic that we are using. And because we are a small market, we don't have many people that consume methodology and tools. They usually get the things done as fast as possible. So we try to be very practical. And next, please. Something that differentiates us is that we try to be from a service perspective, the one shop for the performance management area in the back office or non-manufacturing areas. So we do a lot of services around that, and we have a lot of recurrence. If some of you do know how Big Four companies operate, they usually have an issue with assuming they call it assuming managerial decisions. So usually they try to be very far away from the situation, and they usually don't get that involved, because if that has some issues with the auditor's independence. We do not have those type of restrictions. So usually we have a lot of recurrence with our own clients, and we usually go not only with the recommendation, but very often we go into the client to help him get traction into what the recommendations are. Go ahead. And we have been developing some expertise in some verticals, as I already mentioned. Next, please. What we do, well, consulting and implementations in all those areas. I'm not gonna go into detail on that, but basically is measurement, analytics, KPIs, processes, transformation. We're getting our feet wet into automation and robotics, and strategic planning and other type of strategic work. Our operations area basically is the managed services. We have some things that we do for clients, and also services built from the ground up to be a managed service, such as EXYGE Learning, which is basically we're selling the software. What we do is packaged in one service. We are the e-learning department of our clients, depending on what they want from us. So, for example, it could be only the platform and the help desk, or we can go into designing the learning routes, defining what to do, providing instructional design, or anything else. And we're starting to do the same, or we're hoping to be able to do the same with HR in a Box, which will be strategic human resources on demand. That will mean that the payroll and all those stuff will stay in the company, but sometimes in our type of companies, we could provide HR, strategic HR on demand, just on the different things that the company needs, and they can keep the operational part. Next. And around those same services, from a branding standpoint, we do promote some packaged solutions for industries based on what we know how to do, and usually coupled with either their own technology tools, or some tools that we already know, and that where we can provide a fast track for implementation. Again, next. Basically, this is conceptualized as the delivery of services in 3 levels. The first one being the consulting or the advisory services, which is basically the diagnostic, the provision of what they need to do, and the explanation of how they need to do it. The second one will be operations, when we assume some of those recommendations and operate them either temporarily while the client gets traction himself, or permanently, where there are some clients that are not interested in losing focus in their core business, doing some of the recommendations. So sometimes for some clients we do some stuff permanently. For example, around the reporting and analytics. And the third level is basically a capability development program or a professionalization program for companies, where they hire us for a specific set of time. It could be 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months. And within our competencies, we help them get some objectives done. And that could be consulting, that could be training, or that could be getting your hands dirty with co-doing things with them. Which is basically, these 3 levels are thought as helping to achieve traction on the client. Next. And these are some of the tools that we use usually, either for analytics, process, or e-learning at this point. Okay, next. And we're getting into the transforming digitally a company. This is a way too used word, but basically how we promote it and how we write about it is that to transform digitally a company basically is to be able to process, to extract, process, and understand what your data is showing you, and take decisions based on that data. That's the first competency. The second one is through the Internet of Things, extend the frontiers of your own company, for example, with extranets and with mobile devices that allow people to be connected and things like that. And the third one is process automation, whether it will be BPM, robotics, putting a web-based system on a manual process or whatever. And maybe a fourth competency, it depends how you see it, is changing the chip, changing the mentality into one of using all those resources that you have. Because sometimes the perfect project does not launch because people does not use or does not seize the opportunities on the tools that they have. Next. And based on that, I'm about to finish. We see opportunities for collaboration. Initially, that's not all of it, but initially around the managed services. Next. Basically, things with reporting and analysis as a service, where we use very good tools, and we can either provide the service or help you develop the competency. Next. And the same with EXYGE learning, where we can provide the platform, or show you how it is done. And our platform is an enterprise grade with an European ally, and it has any language that you want. We can either partner with you so that you can offer that, or we can show you how it is done, whatever you want. Next. And the reason why we think it is easy to start here is because independently of if we are in different time zones, it doesn't have any travel. It can be remotely. We work, for example, with RAS and EXYGE Learning with clients from Mexico to Panama from the office. So it's and it's relatively low risk as an experiment on using all CMC colleagues. Next. And that's it. We are at your service for whatever you think we can help you with.
Thank you, Otto. That was excellent, and your timing was exceptional as well. That was very, very good. I apologize to you, Otto. I inserted your slides, and I see they didn't format as well as I thought they would. So may I suggest that I would distribute a PDF of your original slides?
I will send you. I will send you the PDF.
Okay, good. And we'll
for the sake of the font.
When we send the link to this video, we'll send a PDF of the slides so you can see them in their original splendor. So thank you very much for that introduction. And you have Otto's contact information, so be in touch if you have any questions of him about this. Also, if you have any questions or to help be prepared for the first PP meeting, which is coming up, remind us again on the date for the next one, which should be in our calendars.
Yes, it's November 1st. That's from tomorrow in 8 days. And it will be at 12 UTC. And the topic will be how we, again, it's relatively informal in the sense that we will be sharing. We have had in the last, I would say 3 to 4 years, we have gone for different tools to try to manage what everyone is doing and how we interact with clients. And we ended up in a intranet, extranet application, a Russian one that is called Bitrix 24, which we like a lot. And we are also implementing that in 2 clients. Once we learn how to do it, we are actually providing consulting to our clients on how to use that. And we will be revising how we use that as a PSA, as a professional service tool for whoever is interested in that.
Wonderful. Excellent. Looking forward to that. And just to remind everyone, we'll be back to our regular schedule. So second Tuesday of the month, Tuesday, November 14th, will be our next meeting. If you would like to introduce your firm to continue this potential collaboration, let me know. We'll be setting that up soon. There's the Zoom link-in number, which Jose will be providing to you. And then finally, created a bit.ly login for you, which is GIMMM. So the Global Institute MMM meeting, so it's easier for you to remember if you need to log in. So thank you all. We've gone a few minutes over. I appreciate that. To me, this has been an exceptionally helpful meeting, and I'm looking forward to collaborating with all of you in terms of us all figuring out how we can strengthen each other as we move forward on this journey of management consulting. So thank you. Have a very good rest of the day, whatever time zone you're in, and we'll be talking in a couple of weeks at our next members monthly meeting. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Mike.
Great. Bye.
Bye.